Admiral Chen Zhang stood at the observation deck of the Earth Diplomatic Corps vessel Olive Branch, watching three of the most powerful fleets in known space positioning themselves for what could be the last battle of the Trilateral War. The Marique's crystalline ships sparkled like diamonds against the backdrop of the Centaurus Nebula. The Vaxary's biological vessels pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that might have been beautiful if they weren't weapon-charging sequences. The Scythel's dark matter ships seemed to bend reality around them, their very presence a reminder of how far ahead these civilizations were compared to humanity's modest fleet. "They're really going to do it," Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Three species, each over 10,000 years old, about to annihilate each other over a single sector." Chen nodded, his weathered face reflecting the distant flashes of weapon tests. "And they called us, humanity, barely 200 years into space travel, as their last resort. The irony isn't lost on me." The Trilateral War had raged for over 3 centuries. The disputed Centaurus sector contained enough rare elements to fuel an empire for millennia, but its unique spatial properties made it impossible for any single species to maintain control. The three powers had fought to a standstill, their advanced technologies perfectly matched, their strategies locked in an endless cycle of attack and counterattack. "Ambassador Zhao's ready for you, Admiral," Commander Marcus Wells reported, appearing at the door. "The alien representatives have agreed to one final negotiation attempt." Chen straightened his uniform, a simple black and silver design that looked almost primitive compared to the ornate diplomatic garb of the other species. "Time to show them why they were right to call us in." The diplomatic chamber was a testament to the impossibility of their task. 3 separate environmental zones had been created to accommodate the vastly different biological needs of each species. The Marique representative floated in a dense gas mixture, crystal formations growing and receding as they communicated. The Vaxari diplomat pulsed in patterns of light within a nutrient bath. The Scythel existed partially in another dimension, their form only partially visible to human eyes. Ambassador Zhao, a woman whose quiet confidence had earned her the nickname Steel Silk among her peers, stood at the central podium. "Representatives of the 3 powers, we thank you for this opportunity to assist in resolving this conflict." The Marique's crystals chimed in harmony, their translation coming through the room's systems. "You understand nothing of this conflict, young ones. Our civilizations were mapping the stars when your kind still huddled in caves." "Precisely." Chen stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of authority without aggression. "We are young, and that is exactly why we're here. We see with fresh eyes what has become invisible to you through centuries of conflict." The Vaxary's lights pulsed rapidly. "Your species lacks the technological sophistication to comprehend the complexities of the Centaurus sector. Its quantum instabilities require solutions you haven't found in 300 years of war." Chen interrupted, earning shocked reactions from all 3 representatives. In diplomatic circles, interrupting any of these species was considered the height of rudeness. "We've reviewed the technical data. Yes, the sector's unique properties make it impossible for any one of your species to maintain control. Your technologies are too similar, too dependent on the same principles." The Scythel's partially visible form rippled. "You suggest humans could succeed where we have failed. Your arrogance exceeds your wisdom, Admiral." Chen smiled, activating a holographic display in the center of the room. "No, I suggest that none of you should control the sector. What we propose is something simpler, and far more difficult for your ancient civilizations to accept." The display showed a new type of automated mining and processing system, based on surprisingly primitive but robust technology. "We call it the Trilateral Processing Initiative. Human-designed systems, built to be maintained by all 3 of your species, working in shifts determined by quantum randomization. No single power can control it, because it's deliberately designed to be too primitive to be overridden by your advanced technologies." Silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. The humans were proposing a solution so simple, so seemingly backwards, that none of the advanced civilizations had considered it. Their very advancement had become their limitation. You expect us to accept this regression? The Marique chimed in disbelief. We expect you to choose between pride and survival. Ambassador Zhao replied calmly. Our analysts predict total mutual destruction within 6 standard months if this war continues. Your technologies are too well matched. Your strategies too perfectly countered. You need an imperfect solution to break the deadlock. Chen watched as the 3 representatives communicated with their respective fleets. The humans had gambled everything on this moment, betting that these ancient civilizations would be able to recognize wisdom even in its most unexpected form. The Vaxary's lights dimmed thoughtfully. Your proposal is inelegant, but viable. The Scathol completed, their form solidifying slightly in what Chen had learned to recognize as interest. Sometimes the most primitive tool is exactly what you need, Chen said. Humanity learned that lesson early. Now we offer that wisdom to you. As the representatives began discussing the technical details of the proposal, Chen allowed himself a small smile. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to find simple solutions to complex problems. Now that strength might just prevent a war that could have torn the galaxy apart. The first step had been taken. But Chen knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge would be implementing this solution before the tensions erupting across the sector could spiral out of control. Time was short, and 3 ancient civilizations' worth of pride stood between humanity and success. The mood aboard the Olive Branch shifted dramatically over the next 12 hours. While the 3 ancient species had accepted the concept of the Trilateral Processing Initiative in theory, implementing it was proving to be another matter entirely. They're arguing about the color scheme of the mining drones, Sarah Rodriguez reported, her voice strained with disbelief. The Marique insist that crystalline white represents purity of purpose. The Vaxari say bioluminescent blue shows harmony with the cosmos. And the Scathol, well, I'm not even sure how to describe what they want. Chen rubbed his temples, watching through the observation window as the massive fleets continued their tense standoff. Every hour brought new reports of skirmishes along the sector's borders. The temporary ceasefire was holding by a thread. Ambassador Zhao. Chen turned to his colleague, who was reviewing diplomatic protocols on her datapad. I believe it's time for something more direct. Zhao looked up, her eyes sharp. You're thinking of Implementation Protocol 7. I'm thinking we throw the protocols out entirely. Chen's words caused several junior officers to freeze at their stations. In the history of human diplomatic service, no one had ever suggested completely abandoning established protocols. Zhao set down her datapad, her expression unreadable. The consequences will be severe if we fail, Chen finished. But we're running out of time. Every minute we spend debating aesthetics brings us closer to war. They called us in because traditional methods failed. It's time we showed them how humans really solve problems. After a moment's consideration, Zhao nodded. Do it. Chen activated the ship-wide comm system. All hands, this is Admiral Chen. Execute Operation Ground Zero. Now. Across the Olive Branch, crews sprang into action. Within minutes, the human vessel began moving, breaking formation from its designated diplomatic position. Warning signals blared from all 3 alien fleets. Admiral, Commander Wells reported, we're receiving demands to return to our assigned coordinates. They're quite insistent. Broadcast on all frequencies, Chen ordered, stepping up to the command podium. His voice carried across space to every ship in the sector. Representatives of the 3 powers, this is Admiral Chen Zhang. You're about to witness humanity's approach to problem-solving. Commander Wells, deploy the prototype. From the belly of the Olive Branch, a single mining drone emerged. It was ugly by any species standards, a blocky, practical design that favored function over form. Its surface was unpainted metal, bearing only necessary markings for maintenance. This drone, Chen announced, will begin mining operations in exactly 10 minutes. It will process resources according to the proposed agreement, distributing them equally among all parties. It's not beautiful. It's not elegant. But it works. The Marique representative's crystalline voice cut through the comm system. You dare. This violates 17 separate protocols. Indeed it does, Chen replied calmly. The drone is entering the first designated mining zone now. You have two choices. Destroy it and prove that your pride is worth more than peace, or let it work and see what cooperation might achieve. The tension on the bridge could have been cut with a knife. Everyone watched as the drone approached its target, an asteroid rich in rare elements. Weapon systems from all three fleets tracked its movement. The Vaxari representative's bioluminescence pulsed rapidly. Your species risks much, Admiral. We risk everything, Chen corrected. That's what humans do when the stakes are high enough. The drone is beginning its mining sequence. To everyone's amazement, the ugly little drone started working. Its simple but effective systems began extracting and processing materials, sorting them into 3 equal portions. The process wasn't pretty. It was noisy, inefficient by advanced standards, and decidedly inelegant. But it worked. Notice, Chen continued, that no single species can override its controls. It's too primitive for your advanced hacking techniques. Its distribution systems are purely mechanical, unable to be influenced by quantum manipulation or psychic interference. It's impervious to your most sophisticated attacks precisely because it's so basic. Hours passed as the drone continued its work. Slowly, representatives from all 3 species began requesting technical data about its operations. Engineers from ancient civilizations found themselves puzzling over straightforward mechanical systems that their advanced technology had made obsolete centuries ago. A crude solution, the Skithal representative observed, their form fluctuating thoughtfully. But an effective one, Zhao replied. Sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer. As the first processed materials were distributed equally among the 3 fleets, Chen allowed himself to breathe a little easier. The gamble had paid off. For now. But he knew this was just the beginning. Admiral, Sarah reported, her voice tense. We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the sector's outer rim. Something's coming through subspace. Chen's momentary relief vanished. He knew that the real test was yet to come. Somewhere out there, forces that had profited from centuries of conflict were preparing to protect their interests. The ugly little drone had proven that cooperation was possible, but proving it was worthwhile would be a far greater challenge. Maintain course, he ordered. Humanity didn't get where it is by backing down when things got difficult. Let's show them what else we can do. The subspace ruptures grew larger, tearing across the starfield like violent brushstrokes on a cosmic canvas. From these wounds in reality emerged vessels unlike any in the 3 ancient fleets, ships that seemed cobbled together from stolen technology of all 3 species. Pirates, Commander Wells breathed. Or rather, what pirates become with 3 centuries of salvaged advanced tech. Chen watched as 12 hybrid vessels took up attack positions. Their weapons signatures were chaotic, combining Marique crystal tech, Vaxari biological systems, and Skithal dark matter manipulation. They were everything the human mining drone wasn't: complex, sophisticated, and lethal. We're receiving a transmission, Sarah announced. It's broadcasting on all frequencies. A figure appeared on the main screen, its appearance shifting between all 3 species forms, a technological mask designed to disorient and intimidate. This is Arxos of the Free Fleet. For centuries, we have profited from this conflict. We will not allow primitive humans to end it with primitive solutions. Chen noticed how the 3 ancient fleets remained motionless, their representatives silent. This was humanity's test, not just to solve a problem, but to prove they could defend their solution. Commander Wells, Chen said quietly, initiate Defense Protocol Echo. Sir. Wells looked uncertain. Echo isn't rated for combat against advanced tech. Exactly. Chen opened a channel to the mining drone. Drone NCX-1. Activate secondary protocols. The ugly little mining drone suddenly stopped its work. Its hull began to shift, panels opening to reveal what appeared to be ancient, chemical-based rocket tubes. The kind humanity had used centuries ago to reach their own moon. Arxos's laughter echoed through the comm system. You intend to fight us with fossil technology. Perhaps we overestimated humanity's intelligence. No, Chen replied calmly. We intend to demonstrate why simple solutions are sometimes the best ones. Drone NCX-1. Execute Defense Pattern Alpha. What happened next would be discussed in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The mining drone launched its primitive rockets, not at the pirate vessels, but into carefully calculated positions around them. As the pirates' advanced sensors dismissed the projectiles as harmless, the rockets detonated. But they didn't explode. Instead, they released clouds of what appeared to be metallic dust. What is this? Arxos demanded. Some kind of primitive smokescreen. Chen allowed himself a small smile. Something much simpler. That's iron oxide. Common rust. Normally harmless, unless you're using complex quantum state weapons. The implications hit too late. As the pirates attempted to fire their stolen weapons, the iron oxide particles interfered with their quantum state harmonics. Biological targeting systems went blind trying to process the simple metallic interference. Dark matter manipulators lost coherence among the cloud of basic particles. Impossible, one of the Marique representatives chimed. They've disabled advanced weapons with metal dust. Sometimes, Chen broadcast to all ships. The most effective countermeasure isn't trying to match advanced technology. It's using basic physical properties that advanced technology has forgotten how to handle. The pirate ships began to drift, their hybrid systems unable to compensate for such a primitive form of interference. The olive branch moved forward, extending simple magnetic grapples, technology that hadn't seen military use in centuries. This is why we use simple solutions, Chen continued. Advanced technology isn't always better. It's often more vulnerable, more dependent on perfect conditions. Humanity learned to solve problems with whatever tools we had available. Sometimes, the old tools are the best tools. As the human ship began collecting the disabled pirate vessels, Chen turned to the three representatives. Your advanced fleets couldn't stop these raiders for centuries because you were all trying to use the same level of technology. We stopped them with rust and magnets. The silence that followed was profound. The Vaxari's lights pulsed in patterns of deep thought. The Marique's crystals hummed at frequencies indicating recalculation. The Scythel's form stabilized more than any human had ever seen. Perhaps, the Scythel representative said slowly, we have something to learn from your species' perspective. The mining drone. The Vaxari added, lights flickering rapidly. Its color and design are acceptable. Functionality should take precedence. Chen nodded to Ambassador Zhao, who stepped forward. Then let's discuss how we can expand this project. Not just mining drones, but a whole infrastructure of simple, reliable systems that all three of your species can operate and maintain. As the representatives began earnest discussions about implementation, Sarah approached Chen quietly. Admiral, we're detecting more subspace disturbances, different signatures this time. Chen checked the readings and felt his jaw tighten. The pirates had been expected. What was coming now was something else entirely, something that threatened not just the peace, but the very fabric of space in the disputed sector. Alert Ambassador Zhao, he ordered. Tell her to keep the representatives talking. We're about to face something that no amount of simple solutions might be able to solve. The stars began to twist in new and impossible ways, and Chen knew that humanity's greatest test was still to come. The fabric of space itself seemed to scream as the new threat emerged. Through tears in reality came something that defied description, a massive construct that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions, its surface crawling with technology from civilizations even older than the three powers. By the void, the Marique representative chimed in horror. The Precursor Archive. Its awakening. Chen had read about the archive in classified briefings, an automated repository of ancient knowledge that had been dormant in the sector for millions of years. The quantum instabilities that made the sector so valuable weren't natural. They were side effects of the archive's presence. All ships, full retreat, the Vaxari representative commanded, their bioluminescence pulsing in panic patterns. The archive's awakening will destabilize the entire sector. Nothing can survive its dimensional cascade. The massive fleets began to pull back as space itself began to warp. The archive, responding to the recent conflicts and energy discharges in the sector, had initiated its ancient protective protocols. Soon, the entire region would be wiped clean of all advanced technology. Wait. Chen broadcast across all frequencies. Look at our mining drone. All eyes turned to the simple machine, still serenely operating despite the chaos around it. The archive's energy pulses, designed to disable advanced technology, passed through it harmlessly. It was too primitive to be affected. Ambassador Zhao. Chen turned to his colleague. I need authorization for Emergency Protocol Omega. Zhao's eyes widened. That's untested technology, Admiral. We don't know if. If we don't try, this sector and everyone in it dies. Sometimes the boldest solution is the only solution. After a moment's hesitation, Zhao nodded. Authorization granted. May whatever gods exist help us all. Chen opened a channel to engineering. Chief Rivera, initiate Omega sequence. All hands, prepare for dimensional shift. The olive branch began to change. Panels opened across its hull, revealing what looked like crude radio antennae. Technology that hadn't been used for communication in centuries. But these weren't for communication. Representatives of the three powers, Chen broadcast, what you're about to witness is humanity's greatest secret. We never stopped developing our primitive technology. We just started using it differently. The antennae began to spin, generating electromagnetic fields that would have been considered laughably weak by modern standards. But they weren't meant to be strong. They were meant to be simple. The archive isn't truly alive, Chen explained as his crew worked. It's a machine, no matter how advanced. And every machine has basic operational principles, even ones millions of years old. The electromagnetic fields began to interact with the archive's dimensional energies. Instead of trying to fight the ancient technology, the human chip's primitive systems created patterns that the archive's protocols recognized as harmless background noise. Chief Rivera, Chen ordered, begin broadcast of the shutdown sequence. Simple radio waves, modulated in patterns based on human music theory of all things, began pulsing toward the archive. The massive construct's chaotic movements began to slow as its ancient systems encountered something they had never been programmed to handle, mathematics expressed through primitive wavelengths. Impossible, the Skithal representative whispered, their form fully materializing in shock. You're communicating with it through radio waves. Not communicating, Chen corrected. We're singing to it. Human scientists discovered that the archive's base programming responds to certain mathematical patterns, patterns that can be expressed through simple wave functions, the kind our ancestors used to broadcast entertainment. The archive's destructive energy pulses began to fade. Its dimensions began to stabilize as the human chip's crude transmissions continued their mathematical song. Now, Chen commanded, deploy the dormancy pods. From the olive branch, dozens of small capsules launched toward the archive. They weren't advanced stasis fields or quantum locks. They were simple mechanical devices that used basic principles of physics to generate containment fields. The archives doesn't recognize them as technology, Sarah realized aloud. Just like our mining drone. One by one, the pods attached to key points on the archive's structure, their primitive mechanisms working to guide the ancient construct back to its dormant state. The dimensional distortions began to fade. Representatives, Chen addressed the stunned alien leaders. We've bought us some time, but we need to act quickly. The archive can be contained, but only if we work together. and only if we're willing to embrace solutions that might seem beneath your advanced civilizations. The three ancient species watched in amazement as humanity's primitive technology accomplished what their advanced systems never could. The archive, this remnant of an unimaginably ancient civilization, was being lulled back to sleep by radio waves and mechanical devices that wouldn't have looked out of place in humanity's early space age. But Chen knew they weren't done yet. The archive's brief awakening had changed everything. The sector's resources weren't just valuable. They were vital to preventing another catastrophic awakening. The three powers would have to work together now, not just to mine resources, but to maintain the delicate balance that kept the archive dormant. As the crisis subsided, Chen received a priority message from Earth Command. What it contained made his blood run cold. The archive wasn't unique. There were others, scattered across the galaxy, all connected. And they were all beginning to stir. Humanity's simple solutions had saved the day, but an even greater challenge loomed. The galaxy was about to need humanity's unique perspective more than ever before. 1 month after the archive incident, the Olive Branch hosted an unprecedented gathering. Representatives from not just the three powers, but dozens of other advanced civilizations crowded the ship's expanded conference chamber. The news of humanity's success had spread across the galaxy. The situation is graver than we initially believed. Shen addressed the assembled delegates. Behind him, a holographic display showed hundreds of dormant archives scattered throughout known space. Each one contains the same potential for catastrophic dimensional collapse that we witnessed, and they're all showing signs of awakening. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices, each species expressing their fear in their own way. The Marique's crystals chimed in discord. The Vaxary's bioluminescence strobed in panic patterns. The Skithal's forms flickered between dimensions. Ambassador Zhao raised her hand for silence. We understand your concerns, but we've also discovered something remarkable. The archives aren't random. They're connected in a vast network, presumably created by the precursors for some long-forgotten purpose. And now they threaten us all. A new voice spoke, a representative of the Helios Concordat, one of the oldest known civilizations, moved forward. Our most advanced sensors can barely detect them until it's too late. Our weapons are useless. Our technology, developed over millions of years, means nothing. Perhaps, Shen suggested, that's exactly the point. He nodded to Sarah, who activated a different display. It showed their mining drone, still working peacefully near the contained archive. The precursors built these archives to last millions of years. They had to account for countless possible forms of technological advancement. The only way to do that was to make them responsive to basic physical principles. The Skithal representative finished, their form stabilizing in understanding. Principles that would remain constant regardless of technological evolution. Exactly, Chen confirmed. Humanity's primitive technology works because it operates on those same basic principles. We never abandoned them, even as we advanced. We kept using radio waves alongside quantum communication, chemical rockets alongside dark matter drives, simple machines alongside AI. Ambassador Zhao stepped forward. What we propose is unprecedented, a galaxy-wide initiative to contain and study these archives, using a combination of your advanced technology and our simple solutions, but it will require something even more unprecedented, true cooperation between all our species. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Centuries-old rivals would have to work together. Ancient empires would have to humble themselves to learn from the youngest spacefaring race. The galaxy's balance of power would shift fundamentally. The three powers have already agreed, Chen announced, gesturing to the representatives who had witnessed humanity's effectiveness firsthand. The Trilateral Processing Initiative has been expanded. We're not just mining resources anymore. We're building a network of containment systems around every known archive. He brought up another display, showing the new designs. Simple in principle but revolutionary in application, they combined primitive human technology with advanced alien power systems. Radio wave generators powered by dark matter. Mechanical containment fields enhanced by crystalline matrices. Biological monitoring systems linked to basic computer networks. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, Zhao declared. Not advanced technology, but a reminder of the foundations we all share, a bridge between the primitive and the advanced, the old and the new. One by one, the representatives began to signal their agreement. Even the most ancient civilizations could not deny the logic or the necessity of this solution. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would help guide that change. As the formal agreements were being drafted, Shen stood at his familiar spot by the observation window. The view had changed dramatically. Where once 3 hostile fleets had faced each other in standoff, now ships from dozens of civilizations worked together, installing containment systems around the dormant archive. Hard to believe it all started with an ugly little mining drone, Sarah said, joining him at the window. Chen smiled. Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest things. Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our resources. It was our ability to see solutions where others saw only problems. And our willingness to try the impossible, Zhao added, approaching them with a datapad. Earth Command just confirmed. 17 more archives have been successfully contained using our methods. The network is stabilizing. Chen nodded, watching as another joint fleet arrived through hyperspace, ready to help extend the containment network. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not by matching the advanced civilization's achievements, but by remembering what they have forgotten. The Olive Branch received new orders. They would lead the next containment mission, venturing into unexplored space to find more archives. But they wouldn't go alone. Ships from all the allied species would join them, each bringing their own strengths to complement humanity's unique perspective. As they prepared to depart, Chen reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy had faced a crisis that no amount of advanced technology could solve, and found its salvation in the simple solutions of its youngest civilization. It was a new dawn for all species, a reminder that progress wasn't always about moving forward. Sometimes it was about remembering where you came from. The Olive Branch led the fleet into hyperspace, carrying with it humanity's greatest gifts to the galaxy: simplicity, ingenuity, and the courage to try the impossible. The age of isolation was over. The age of true cooperation had begun, guided by the species that had never forgotten the value of simple solutions to complex problems.